the Boundless Authenticity Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast. If you love Boundless Authenticity and you want to keep the conversations flowing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen by visiting boundlessauthenticity.podbean.com. You can listen for free, no sign-up required, and convenient access to all other streaming platforms can be found right at the top of the page. Christopher Macklin joins us again. It's the return of the Mac yet again, folks. This is Christopher's 8th time on the podcast. If you don't know, now you're about to find out, because he's a UFO expert and paranormal conduit who shares his insights on the paranormal. He's highly respected and brings several facets to his work, including remote viewing, spiritual attacks, Archons, the Deep State, ET and UFO topics, including info on ET races and how they are connected to humanity in a positive way, as well as the negative ET races that are on our planet and alien connections. His topics also include 5G and angelic beings, alien visitations, AI and transhumanism, the Illuminati and Fallout children, entities, and he works with healing UFO abductees and transitioning them back into society. And all of his information is derived from a combination of factual scientific information and divine intelligence, which makes his work so profoundly impactful. Now you know, Christopher offers free weekly group sessions, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, Saturday at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific. All are welcome to participate in the new protocol to remove health challenges, anxiety, Lyme, Morgellons, AIDS, HIV, and experience Christopher's work. You can go on globalenlightenmentproject.com for all that. So, Christopher, how's it going?
Yeah, it's great. Good to see you, bless you.
You've been on the show so much that if I don't see you for an extended period of time, it starts to feel weird around here.
Yeah, I've become part of the furniture, maybe. So it's great to be back. But yeah, so what should we talk about today? Well, I think we were going to talk about angelic beings. I think they're important this time. One of the things I think I'm really seeing at the moment, well, a few things, but one is cancel culture is getting out of hand. Basically, kids detaching from mum and dad, saying they're narcissists and all this sort of thing. And I thought it was just one or two people. It's a pandemic, and it's hosted by TikTok and another platform, Instagram. What they're doing basically is they're getting groups where how do you detach from your parents. And I when I first saw it, I didn't understand it at all. But it's programming, And in fact, there's so much programming now. I don't know whether you guys listening out there, had a great Christmas. Mine was interesting. It was very underwhelming. So, we had some family people came around, cooked them a beautiful dinner, sitting down. We've got a 10-seater table, a round table. It's like the Knights of the Round Table, really. But, for the kids next to them. Anyway, they sat around and they were on their phone. I was going, wow, so okay. So left it, because if you mention anything to people nowadays, they get very reactive. And will never come back. So didn't say anything. And then I was washing up. Mandy took them. We have a big old, fire pit. And on the property, it's 40 acres, trees. It's absolutely gorgeous. So she took them over there. They had a beer and sat down the fire and on the phones again. She put music on. And then she decided, well, it was open mic night somewhere. So she left and went there. So it's, I've noticed a massive difference in the last year of people really entrenched in the matrix, and I think it's really in your face. I don't know if you've seen that,
I try so hard not to consume very much content, and I can definitely say that what I see is people are so internally focused on what's inside of the damn shit square. Like they're inside of this thing all the time. And even when you try to tell them that stuff is really going on outside, they're like, oh, well, I didn't see it in here. And
just look outside.
The phone didn't tell me, so therefore what you're saying can't be true, and it's scary.
I think the problem is that people when they're in the matrix, they just don't see anything. They're just programmed. And when people say, well, 80% of the population's woken up, I'm looking outside there. Are you sure you're on the same planet? What? You got to be kidding. There's not 80% of these people woke. But then you look at the population, you think, well, 70-odd% NPCs, they've got AI, souls, they're they're not a proper human being. I always teach people that it's important to know if you want a proper human being, and this was confirmed by the Grey Reticule actually, if you want a proper human being, you need to fertilize an egg in a woman's womb, which has the God energy around it to be able to pull a proper human soul. If not, what happens is if you fertilize in a pod, you get some sort of AI draconian type thing, and you can always tell. People say, well, how would you tell? Just go out next time you're shopping, have a look in people's eyes. They're dead. There's nothing there. They can't do a monologue. And there's a lot of people like that. And, I think they're coming to an end because they're shutting the AI down, which means these people will just be disappearing, because they won't have a soul at all. You can't run a body without some sort of AI soul or human soul. So there's that. And then, of course, if people have taken a bioweapon, that damages the DNA, soul lifts out, so they're shut down. In comes an Archon, takes over. So, 80% of the population awake? I don't think so. I think when we get to about 8%, then we're ready for a shift. And I think we're about 5.3 at the moment-ish. So, we're not quite there yet, but it's certainly not 80%, So I'm kind of thinking, maybe I'm on the wrong planet, I don't know. But I know I'm on the right planet because I volunteered to do this, But it's tough, it's tough for the people who are really up there understanding. And it's also tough, like your work and my work, if you're talking to people, even spiritually evolved people are losing it, they're struggling at the moment, everyone is.
Yeah, I see a lot of people struggling, and even myself, I sit around here and I'm like, wow, what has the world become now? Like I get home from an event or shopping or something, and I just feel like I need to take the longest nap ever and just sit there and try to analyze why I feel so bogged down by the presence of all these people. I've been calling it people allergies because you just feel like you're not right sometimes. And I don't even think it's like shedding or anything from that bioweapon that we were talking about. I just think that the majority of people that are out there are so stressed out. I'm talking about the people, not the NPCs. They're so stressed out, and they bring that energy to wherever they are. Doesn't matter if you balance your aura or whatever you want to call it, whatever spiritual techniques you have, doesn't matter if you do that. You just feel like something's been taken from you, a part of you.
Yeah, and you feel exhausted when you come back, wiped. I feel, wiped now. When I do the general groups, live, there's probably, 300, 400 people listening. And then, replays. But even replays, if they do a replay, it's still connected to your energy, And when I've done a general group, with 300 people on, after sometimes I'm exhausted, I need to take a nap. And I never used to feel like that. I think, and I'm very reluctant, I don't know about you, Ian, but I'm very reluctant to go out anymore. No, I think we'll stay at home. Why would you go anywhere? I've got 40 acres. It's dense forest. At the front, they've got to reduce trees. We bought it like that. So it's more like a park. So at the front, we've got grass and park. At the back, we've got dense forest. The house is nestled within all this. So it kind of creates a barrier of beautiful energy. And so when I go out, you feel it even more. One of the things that people said when they come to our house is, this can sound strange, but they end up, if they've got constipation, they end up going to the toilet because I think it's built, it's 1,000 feet from Arkansas. I think there's a ton of crystals below it. So when you come here, even Mandy's grandpa, he's 85, and he sat around the fire pit. It's like, wow, this place is looks surreal, because the energy was really heightening him up. It's an amazing place to be. So why would you want to go out? I think our habits have changed. I used to love, one of my passions is going to a nice restaurant, good food, whatever. Now I'm going out and the food tastes different, It tastes like Cisco blah, and every restaurant's the same. I can cook better at home. So I think, that's changed. Another thing that's changed as well is my eating habits. I don't know about you, but I don't know what to eat. You don't feel like anything. Well, I've got to eat something, And we're eating very little, and I'm 6'5", and yeah, it's strange. And I think isolation for me is really important. Just get really, really good people around you. And I think that happens more to Starseed people because the Starseeds have volunteered to come here. Don't know what you're thinking, but you volunteered and you never fit in. So, of course, when I was younger, like 3 days ago, when I was in my 20s, believe that, believe anything. I keep trying to tell people I dye my hair metallic silver just to be in, but no one believes me. I don't blame. But I think when I was younger, I never fitted in. My father used to say, get over yourself. You're 2 cents, and I got berated all the time. And, what you got to realize is that you are sensitive because you're a Starseed person. You've volunteered to come here. You don't fit in with the normal human race at all. When I was young, people talked behind my back. Oh my God, how can you do that? I just don't understand this sort of behavior. And I was almost threw up, when I was younger. Now, what I found is this really complex instrument called a couldn't give a shitometer. So what happens is when it explodes, you don't care. I mean, I could care about people, but I don't care about what they think of me because that's their problem, not mine. So when you get to that, you kind of isolate, you just chuckle and, you see people's behavior. Oh, well, never mind. That's my saying of the year this year. Oh, well, never mind. Because don't take people's trauma if they project it on you. And I think also as well, Starseed people tend to tell it like it is, be honest. I'm like that, I just tell it like it is. If people don't like it, well, I'm not going to fluff it. It's not that I'm rude. It's just, you tell it like it is. And then if someone's got massive trauma and that triggers them, it's, well, you're really intense and you're this and that, no. Have a look in the mirror. So it's getting a challenging world to be in.
I know what you're saying, because once I'm done with somebody, it's just, I'm done. I don't feel anything for them anymore. It's not dissociation or anything. It's just like, it's gone.
Well, it's almost like having a candle and one of those snuffers, and you love people to a point, but when it gets beyond some sort of threshold, I think the light's gone out, and it's not that you don't love them. It's just that I can't be around that sort of behavior, can't be around that energy, and that's why I think I can do my work. I mean, we work sometimes. We do one-to-one specialized groups. I talk to maybe 34 people in a day. Now, I know a lot of practitioners. I've got a psychotherapist who's on the board, bless her heart, and she can only do about 4 people, 5 people a day. She said that it's exhausting. And, I feel sorry for practitioners because it's a lot, sitting in front of people and, ingesting their emotion and things. So yeah, it's a tough world. So, for all the Starseeds out there, you're a Starseed because you're an empath and you don't fit in, you like to isolate a lot, can't be around people. I mean, and that's got worse lately because I've had 2 people in the last week. Well, one lady was in Australia. She said, well, the other one was in England. Oh, sorry, she's American, but in England. And she said, I just can't go out in the workplace and get a job because it will just destroy my soul. And I said, well, yeah, nor could I now. I mean, I did in the first 20 years of work life. I worked at corporations and I used to sit there and look around and, what is this, I was earning piles of money, but I thought there's got to be something better than this. Oh, yeah, there is. It's working for God. So, yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I saw my phone was going off there just now. I'm like, oh no, who's trying to call me? But then, strangely enough, it's like Instagram is trying to tell me that Global Enlightenment Project shared something. Like, what? That's a weird coincidence or synchronicity or whatever you want to call it. So I didn't even.
Oh, that's probably our girl. That's probably our girl on social media. She shares it around, and so yeah, she does it every day, especially on podcasts. That's good.
Now you know. You're on Instagram at Global Enlightenment if you want to follow.
Yeah.
Weird synchronicity.
Well, we post it on Facebook, Instagram, all over, but we lost our YouTube channel. So, they accuse me of being a serial violator of their terms and conditions. Oh my God. You're kidding. I've never been accused of being a serial violator before. Never mind. So, you do something right, and when you get banned, and you just have to keep going,
Absolutely. We were just talking about that because that's what happened to me. But, the more good you put out there, the more they attack you. And, you're getting close to that threshold now. I've seen on your Instagram there that you have like 310,000 people. You're getting close to that threshold now where they're going to be like, no more for you, Dr. Macklin.
Yeah, they'll just close it.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
Let's talk about the angelic technologies, though. How does all that work?
Well, they've given us technology. It's interesting because I think, because of the faction who are in charge on this planet, and people think it's all the world leaders. Forget it. They're just puppets. It's the reptilian elements that are underneath the planet. And of course, as human beings, we don't have the technology to take them on because their technology is well advanced. So we have been given technology, various technologies, like plasma lasers, frequency instruments that can destroy, reptilian creatures, because if we hadn't, we wouldn't be able to clean this planet up. And so there's a lot of off-planet technology that we've been given by the Palladians, by the Archons, to be able to fight. It's a spiritual battle. Forget about all this, good mental thing. That's just a play, and it's, what did President Trump call them? Something actors, gosh, what was his term for it? But anyway, they're all actors. It's all a play. It's all happened. They're just playing it out to show the people. But people still get all caught up with this. But these weapons we've been given are to actually do, to take them out physically. But of course, to me, the biggest, I wouldn't call it weapon, I'd call it instrument that you can really make a difference with is the power of maps of intent, or in quotes, prayers. They're more powerful than anything. Whatever you create in your mind, you can create reality. Very often, I get people say, well, we haven't got the money like Bezos and Gates and all these people to go against them. But what you do have is you have the, God's way bigger than any of this like dollar bill that's a promise to pay note anyway, it's debt. You have the power within you. And I think, people need to realize that. I think in February, I can't remember the date, but we have the next God ceremony. So why do we do that? Well, as you know, the Cabal and all these people on different times of the year do satanic ceremonies, and they turn them into rituals where they reinstate them and keep them going every day. So what we've done is we've countered that. So what we're doing is a ceremony calling out big tech, big pharma, all the satanic stuff, all that's been happening, and we bring it before God for justice and release it to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. And then what we do is reinstate that every day for the next 120 days. It's a very powerful exercise. If you guys do care about the planet, please come on. It's free to join. It's in February. I've forgotten the date, but you can see it on the website. We'll put that up. Register for it. It's not only on Zoom. I don't stream it, and it takes about 2 hours. And if we all chant it together and bring it before God, and the different factions, big pharma, big agriculture, everything, we cover everything, and that's probably the most powerful thing you'll ever have, And in fact, when we used to do it, Zoom, when we got to the big pharma bit, Zoom used to take the Zoom down, so we had to get it back up again. So they don't like it, So yeah.
It's so crazy because as we're talking, I'm sure there's a lot of people that just don't understand or don't know that all of this kind of stuff goes on, and there's such an attempt to stifle it, It's crazy.
Oh yeah, you have no idea. Well, when I was younger, you think, yeah, there's corruption and everything else, but you don't realize how bad it is. I mean, everything is destroyed, everything. People often say to me, God, there's got to be something on this world that's authentic and not manipulated. I'm kind of thinking,
yeah, the Balanced Authenticity podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all we've got, But all the stuff in the world that's going on, like the fiat currency, everything is it's just nonsense, And the food, the water, 3D printed meat. I mean, who wants to eat that horrible stuff? And the answer is nobody. And I think it's all being addressed at the moment. And just don't get anxiety about it. Just watch the movie. It's moving. I know people say eat popcorn and all that. It's not easy being here because you feel the collective, and sometimes the collective is very angsty. Last year was almost every day there was a different feeling. Like some days you wake up and felt absolute despair of the collective energy. Other days you felt discombobulated, and other days you feel as though you're in the twilight zone. What's that music go? Da, da, And then you think something's going to happen. Oh, it didn't. So every day was different, and it was quite a turbulent year. This year, since the first, it does feel better, but yeah, I think we're going to have a successful year. I think things are going to change. I mean, I was looking at the technology coming in, the things they've got, even the patented technology is going to be incredible. You can have cars, you can have Stargates. When it's coming out, who knows? But the Stargates, if they build one, if you buy one and put it in your house, you can dial up someone's other Stargate. You could just literally walk through it and be in their front room. And so, like in England, I could go and visit my kids for an hour and come back. You're not flying anywhere, you're just being switched in time space to a different location. So they have all this technology, and they've got free energy. They've had free energy forever. They've got anti-gravitational craft. Now they're starting to build the stuff. Little by little, car manufacturers are looking at anti-gravitational craft. So I think, in the next few years, I don't think you'll recognize this planet. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. So, just focus on that. Always focus on the positive outcome. Yes, it's going to be fantastic. And, I think they're going to have to produce a lot of robots, because a lot of people, will be leaving the planet. And therefore, how do you do the work? And the answer is, you need robots, but on the divine timeline, it'll be okay. On the other timeline, it won't be okay, because they'll be hijacked, and so they might manipulate you. So, yeah, you've always got to really be in that divine man's mindset to stay on the crystalline timeline, which we're on, which some of us are on now. So
I like to go a little bit deeper, as you know, into things. And I was just thinking that it would be great if you could give some recent examples of how you've actually used this technology, or any technology that you feel like, to help a real life situation.
Well, for example, the power maps intent. Maybe we can take the protocol, for example. We have a protocol to strip out spike protein, nanotech, stealth pathogens, which is Lyme, Burley Lyme, HVAs, Agent Orange, and Morgellons, the nanoparticles as well. If you've got Morgellons, you've got Lyme disease. And of course, the current bioweapon that you've been injected with, if you didn't get injected, has all that in it. And so how do we use quantum systems to take that? And why do we use quantum systems? Well, the problem with some of this nanotech is it's actually interdimensional. And I was talking to a doctor and his microbiologist, and I was talking to him because I was on a thing to do with Dr. O. Young, who's in jail because he produced the fractionated detox system. I was on a documentary, and I was talking to her. I said, have you noticed that some of this stuff just kind of disappears? She goes, yeah. Dr. O. Young was looking under the microscope, and some of the particles, just disappeared, and then they came back, And I said, you know why? She goes, no. They've got a metallic structure in them, and you can switch dimensions with it. And that was one of the problems with getting this stuff out of the body, because if you use a solution or anything to try and break it down, A, it won't work, but B, the stuff switches out of dimension, so it's not there. And then when it's out of the body, it comes back in again. So I had to find a way of locking these particles on a timeline. So what we do is we split your now future timeline in two in the Akasha records. We grab you and put you on a place of divine alignment, complete wellness, where all the particles, stealth pathogens, and valley fever like fungus or anything else is eradicated on the timeline. On the other timeline, what we're doing is separating all that stuff out and lock it in a timeline to the sun. So as time goes on, the stuff separates out of the body, and we're actually on group 70, I think, 2 now. We've worked on almost 1,000 people and had much success. But the problem is that if you ingested that bioweapon, the CRISPR technology in it splices your genetics. So because your genetics is damaged, it means that DNA, RNA, immune system's all connected. And I can prove this because in 2009, I did a complete DNA reset, with the blueprint, the Akashic records. So they go in the first cell where life began, they rip out all the chromosomes, connect all the helix together, and reset the DNA of that first cell back to the blueprint. Then cells around. It takes about 18 weeks. So before I did that, and I've got proof here, A, from the hospital, and B, from England, when I used to give blood, to the blood transfusion service, my blood was O negative. didn't think anything of it. And of course, in 2024, which is about a year and 14 months ago, October, I was hit with that frequency energy weapon, melted the cuspal heart valve together. They had to do open heart surgery. So when I did that, I bleed out a lot. So they said, oh, we're going to have to give you 3 pints of blood. Okay, I said, well, it's O negative. Well, we have to check it. They came back and said, no, it's not. It's A negative. Oh, because DNA, RNA, immune system, everything's connected. So it did change my blood type, which is incredible. When I tell the nurses that, they're, what? They don't have a clue. So, but when you've separated the particles out, you've got to repair your DNA, because if the stuff is growing or you've ingested CRISPR technology, your DNA has been damaged. And certainly with the CRISPR, your body's not compatible with your soul. So your soul lifts out your body about an inch or two. That's why people who ingest these bioweapons, they become checked out or aggressive, because then in comes an Archon and takes your body over. So, this is some of the instruments we're using. I believe the instruments, for healing or anything else should come straight from God. We don't need anything else. I mean, off-planet technology, of course, we've got all sorts of things. We've got flying saucers, we've got anti-gravitational craft, free energy. The Tesla produces those. He was pretty gifted, and I think he got divine help to create all these instruments, replicators. They, put something in and it will replicate it. I think the technology in the future is going to be off the charts. But the technology I love comes straight from the divine source, or if you want to call it God. And I think, it's been really successful. It's stripped out all this bioweaponry and reset the DNA, so you can then have the spiritual, power back. Because if your soul lifts out your body, you lose your spirituality. I had someone the lady's actually healing. I didn't know this, but about a year ago, she had a problem and she had to have 2 pints of blood or something. It was contaminated, and she suddenly shut down. She couldn't connect to her guides. She couldn't do things, and so she's been out of work for a year. I said, you got to do the protocol. So she's getting on it this month, So that's a powerful exercise.
That's crazy. So based on what you just said, you could also be suggesting in another way that some of the food that you eat genetically modified, or if it's got nanotech and stuff, it's limiting your spiritual abilities, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, agrobacterium in GMO foods. That's the old way to damage your DNA. If you keep eating GMO foods, the agrobacterium gets into the DNA and damages it. And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people have particles in their body, even from the sky, but they don't replicate in the body. Why is that? Because if your DNA is robust, DNA are an immune system, so the immune response keeps it at bay. It doesn't allow it to replicate. But if you ingest agrobacterium from GMO foods or past jabs, or the CRISPR technology in the current one, it will damage it, and you will get Morgellons. And I mean, believe you me, Morgellons, which comes from these things, is probably the worst, I would say, disease on the planet. It makes cancer look like Mary Poppins, honestly. So yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, yeah. Now that you mentioned the sky thing, and see, this is how I'm never going to get to the questions that I want to ask you, because you're saying stuff, and I gotta go there. Now that you're talking about the sky stuff, here, there, and everywhere, there's this, the media is saying there's this massive outbreak in upper respiratory illness and flu and stuff like that. But we know that that's not what it is. Talk to me about that.
Okay, so these jabs, the bioweapon, and COVID, by the way, if you didn't exist, it was influenza A, B. I worked with 500 labs, 1,600 apparatus of people who have died of COVID that never existed. All they ever found was influenza A and B, but they have modified influenza A lately, and they've got a new strain, Mark 7 or whatever it is, and it is causing a lot of ear infections and sinus issues and things like that. But going back to what you said, once you've ingested that, you have nanospheres inside your body. What does that mean? Well, the nanosphere you can load. It's like having a football, but 10 to the minus 9 small. And think about football. So if you drill like 92 holes in it, load those holes with a virus and close them off so that they're triggered by frequencies. Think about that 10 to the minus 9 small. It's insane, but it's true. So 92 viruses. One of the viruses I've seen lately that's come up is zoster, which is cerebellar zoster, which is shingles. So what they've done is they've separated the cerebellar bit from the zoster bit, and they've now just got it as shingles, and they've loaded that in. So suddenly, a lot of my clients were getting like shingles from nowhere, and oh my God, I've got shingles. So you choose a 5G particular frequency, and then that'll release in everybody. So yeah, that's what's happened. The actual COVID, stuff, and there was no SARS to it anyway, but is coming from those 92 loaded viruses. They've even got a Marburg virus, which attacks the brain and melts it basically. So if that happens, it's mad cow disease for humans. So it's I would urge anybody who's taking these things, get it out of your body, because we're seeing a lot of people leave the planet right now. Almost every person I speak to has got 2 or 3 members of the family who have left the planet. So it's, I just urge you, it's up to you guys. If you want to get it out, great. If you don't, and, I haven't seen a solution yet. I work with a lot of doctors, I work with a lot of scientists and things. But, I learned all about this stuff from a lady who's a world leading toxicologist, Dr. Hildy, and she's a genius. She's seen this stuff grown in DARPA. It's all produced by DARPA. And yeah, so just thought I'd share that with you. That's where the pandemic or the epidemics are coming from, is what's within your body now being triggered and released. So it's like a smoking gun.
So do you have any evidence that what's in the sky, the geoengineering, is a part of this too, like the release of these viruses? Because I can tell you what, I got up this morning feeling like I got hit with a stick of kryptonite, and I went a lot yesterday, and they were just dumping, and they've just been dumping. The amount that they dump is nonstop now. So
oh yeah, they've got the viruses now, aerosol. Well, they're pathogens. There's no such thing as a virus; it's pathogens. But they've got that in. But they've also got the nanotech in, as well. I mean, they're spraying stuff. It's funny because the last 3 days it stopped here, and then before that there's about a week of spraying, and it was really thick. Not just they were really hard at it. And then before that, it had stopped for 3 months. But I don't understand how they're allowed, to do it. And the answer is, who knows, But certainly I know people have got sick since the last lot sprayed, especially in New York. And it is a strain of influenza. I don't know what mark it is or whatever, but, it's been checked in a lab. It's a strain of influenza. It's much more powerful because the mucus is very sticky, and so you can't kind of cough it up. So, yeah, but it's insane,
Jeez. So let's go back to the other thing. If a person is really traumatized and you find that they have a lot of resistance around the things that you're saying that they need to do for healing, or they got a lot of unprocessed emotion, then how can the technologies that you're working with still help them?
Well, you can find one of the things that I do is psychic surgery to release emotion, because sometimes you find people. A lot of people, do they really do the work with their healing? Well, most people just want a red pill. I'll take the pill. I'm better. It doesn't work like that. Because as you know, emotion is really deep-seated. And I've got a technique actually where when I put people in portals and bond into a Merkaba field, starseed beings, because they're empaths, ingest way more emotion than any other being on the planet, because they take things absolutely to heart. So as a starseed, you might have 150,000 layers of emotion, and it's big emotion. It's not small stuff. So how do we get rid of that quickly? And the answer is, if they stay on the sessions, the Melchizedek beings go within those layers energetically. They look for the biggest layer affecting you right now, and they'll pull that out. And then as they pull it out, you're going to feel a tightness. And then once the tightness is released, you breathe it out, and it moves that energy, and then the next one. So normally in a session, if we're doing like one-to-one specialized groups, I start with 81 if they can cope with it. But think about this, if you're in a room with somebody and you poke at them, they bawl their eyes out, they process it, and then, then you do it again and process that one. How many layers can you process in an hour? And the answer is maybe 6 or 8. This is 81. And you think, well, hang on, how could people cope with 81 big emotional releases in one go? Well, because you've moved that energy, what you're doing is you're going to get a reaction to the residual of the collective of those 81. You're not getting the full-on emotion. And that's why we can do so many. And when they get used to 81, we do 162, we do 324, 648, and 1296. And in that way, it moves the emotion really quickly. So, yeah, that's really helped a lot of people, because in this world, I mean, you can do counseling forever and just never really get to the deep layers. But in this way, it's a fast track method, and it really helps,
That makes sense to me. Okay, so let's talk about how you sit with the recent disclosure stuff that's going on. There's a lot of people talking, and I'm trying not to bust out laughing. It's some of the stupid shit that they're saying is just so way off from common sense and like observation. If you just actually looked at what was going on, you would realize that what they were saying was absolute garbage. And there's people that are like, hey, Steven Spielberg's going to tell us what's happening and all that stuff. And it's just like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I mean, well, it's central casting, and I believe that, it's actors. And I think they're creating, they're continuing the narrative to show people how bad it can get. I mean, all this World War III, there will never be World War III. So, you might as well get that out of your head. I mean, they're going to do extractions. I call it extraction, where these satanic leaders, they're just going in, getting them out. Okay, guys, the people of that country, it's up to you to vote for people, get rid of all the corruption, and, and get back to that beautiful, loving place that you're supposed to be at, But of course, every country's been hijacked by these cabal leaders, and that's what they're doing now, like Iran, maybe next, who knows? But I think, people, there's always the narrative, oh, we're just on the cusp of World War III. No, we're not. It's already happened. Everything's been taken care of. So relax at home, have a tipple if you need to, whatever, but don't get yourself anxiety-ridden by World War III. It's not happening. Another thing that's come up for me as well, which is interesting, is that people are scared to death about their money. Now, money's just a debt note, and it's worthless. It's going, it went, I think, 15 or 20% reduction in the value of the dollar bill last year. And so, I would encourage people to look at other avenues and hedge your bets, because, who knows what's going to happen. I mean, if you speak to a financial advisor in these hedge funds, oh, well, you should invest in like the stock market, Well, I said, what about crypto? Oh, no, don't do that. It's dangerous, But it's not. It's the future of the money system, There's lots of instruments there that you can do really well. We have a one time, and, again, I'm not an advisor on funding or anything. I go with intuition, because that tells me the truth. You listen to anyone else from a hedge fund and they're just all manipulative. And I believe that this is the one chance you've got and it's transferring wealth back to the people by having instruments you can buy, and suddenly they'll explode on a bull run and you can do it. Look at silver. I mean, it's, so again, people are scared to death. Well, why not take a step back and start using your intuition? Because it's no use asking these financial advisors. They've been trained in a debt system. They don't know what's happening in the future. And so you've got to go with that intuition all the time. The truth is within you, So...
Have you seen the video of the guy that's walking around offering a bar of silver or 5 bars of chocolate, and everybody takes the chocolate?
I know. Yeah. How heavy is that bar of silver? Probably, I don't know, 10 ounces. And what's it worth? It's almost $100 silver now. So I wouldn't be taking the bar of chocolate, Yeah, exactly. It's insane, though. It's programming.
Weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird, because like you and I are having this conversation, it's going to expand a lot of people's minds that may not have heard of this stuff before. And there's going to be people that are going to reject it. And I find that the one thing I notice, no matter what I'm doing, is that you can't give anyone anything of value. They don't want it. They're like, I don't want that.
No.
That's a really great.
Well, it's like, for example, if you had a TV, say there's a TV worth like $2,000, and suddenly Walmart put it on special offer for $50, And there was a load of them, 85-inch, beautiful TV, in the entranceway. But, oh, that's too cheap, it can't be very good. Let's go and buy the expensive one, because automatically in the brain it said $50, and it might be a clearance, it might be whatever, but people will reject it because they view everything with a dollar bill, and that goes with anything, And to me, I don't care about money at all. I learned a long time ago when I went bankrupt. I respect it, but I really don't care less about it. And one thing I've learned is that if you detach from the monetary thing, I run this ministry and I live off donations. How does that happen? People say, how the heck? Well, because I really took a step back and I just focused on my gift. If you focus on your gift, you'll always have enough. Am I a multimillionaire? No. But I'm doing okay. I've got food on the table. What a blessing. I've got a car. What a blessing. I've got a lovely house. What a blessing. And I think if you detach yourself and just don't worry about the money and let it just flow, I really truly believe where love goes, money flows. If you put your love really into something, you'll always get, tenfold back. And we do, I mean, I always go back to, I think I probably said it on the podcast before. I met an 84-year-old lady. I found out about her. She was a reader. It was in England, just outside Liverpool, a place called Birkenhead, which is a bit shady. So anyway, I thought, I'll go there, So I parked outside, walked into a tiny house and sat down with her. And this was like 2000, when I was married to my wife in England. And she said, okay, let's start the reading. And, oh, thank you. Thank you. Wrote all these things down. And, okay. She goes, well, you're going to get remarried. Okay. You're going to move to America. What? Okay. So you can live off donations. You're going to work for God and you do healing. Oh, okay. So, and I wasn't berating anyone. I just thought, wow, that's a bit kind of crazy. But anyway, never forget that reading. What did I do? Moved to America, got remarried. I live off donations and I work for God. So, but just don't ask God when you can retire. I said, when can I retire? When you croak. Oh, okay. I've got a while, hopefully, yet, So.
Yeah, they haven't found a way to get you yet. That's for sure.
Well, last year, 2000, what was it, 24 was the 290th time, and I'm still here. And I'm kind of, I think I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here. So, and I just don't worry about it anymore. I've had so many events happen, bioweaponry dusted. I felt it, I got really sick. And, that's why I got a little cyst here. It was really big before because it contained the two malaria that, which is the CIA and the MI6 use. They dust people with it and they have a binding agent and a solvent. So the solvent delivers it through the skin. The binding agent binds it to the cells. And we've checked all this in labs. I know exactly what it is. It's happened so many times. You just think, oh, okay. And I'm still here and I'm not going anywhere. So because I love being here. I love what I do. Is it easy? No, If I'm having a great time, not particularly, but I'm balanced and I love what I do and I'm very grateful for being here, But I don't think anyone's jumping up and down going, oh my God, it's great, this planet, and it's not the planet itself, it's the behavior on it. But that's all about to change, I really see it, remote viewing forward, I see incredible things, incredible. I don't think this planet's, the things on it aren't going to look anything the same. And I think you'd have robotics doing stuff. I think the cars, you can get in them and, it'll fly you there. Obviously, they won't let you fly yourself because people do crazy stuff. Stargate technology, you can probably even have, if you fancy a vacation on Venus or Mars, you can go there for a vacation, or any planet for that matter, so you just literally walk through, you're there. They have this technology. They've had it for a while. The jump rooms that I've seen and people have been in, because I've worked with them, the MK Ultra people and the Illuminati Fallout children, there's just like a lift. Literally, you just go up and, it switches your entire space. Suddenly you're getting out on Mars. They've got all this technology. They've had it since the 1940s, 50s. It's just that they never told us about it. And I think also the beings, when I talk to the because that beings, Mother Mary in particular, they won't allow us to do any off-planet traveling until we've got complete peace here. That's one of the key instruments. And that's going to take a little while. I mean, it's getting better, but, it's going to take a while. So
with respect to the UFO phenomenon, it's ramping up a lot, and there's tons of people posting their experiences, and there's these orb sightings and all that. What do you think that's about?
Well, I think some of it's our technology and some of it's off-planet. I mean, the Palladians in particular and the Arcturians have been here for a while. They do cloak their craft, but if you can see through the veil, I mean, I see it all, quite often, looking through the veil because I can chew my eyes out and see through the veil. And so they've been here for a while, and they're here to really help us. Without them, we'd be really struggling right now. And they're helping balance the planet. They're observing, making sure that things don't go too south. They're helping get the kids. Some of the kids who've been so badly abused, they've taken them off planet, so that they can actually really get some help, because there's nobody trained down here for this level of abuse, and so they're putting them in med beds on other planets and things. Yeah, there's a lot of activity, and people just, what, UFOs? My father thinks, I said, what about UFOs, Dad? Do you believe it? No, ridiculous. He said, there's only this planet with life on it. Okay, so the universe is infinite, and you think there's only us here? What? It's infinite, there's tons and tons of races, so yeah, it's really interesting.
When I hear stuff like that, I'm just like,
oh, no, yeah.
you gotta be smoking something to just think that there's just a ball of dirt flying through space or something, and that's all there is.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it insane though? It's really insane, I think, and my father was talking one day, I phoned him and he goes, wow, we've got a big problem now. I said, what's that? Global warming. I thought, okay, so what's causing that? Well, cows passing wind. So I said, Dad, you tell me cows farting is creating global warming? He goes, yeah. I said, but they've been farting for many years, thousands of years, and we haven't had that problem. But anyway, so who told you that? The BBC. Oh, right, okay. So it must be right then. So I don't think so.
You tell me that story every time, and it's never not funny.
It's crazy though, isn't it? Imagine listening to this stuff, yeah. But I think the problem is that they view as a tinfoil hat person, so there's kind of a disconnect within families. I have a disconnect with him. He's got a lot better. He doesn't berate me anymore, but we've got to a place where I can talk to him, but you have to be careful about what you do talk about. I mean, one day he said, "Well, I'm really disappointed." I said, "Not again. What's happened now?" You don't take the Lord as your savior. So, no, I don't. He goes, well, you should, because you're Christian. I said, but I'm not Christian. I love Jesus' teachings, but he's not my savior. The only person who can save you, Dad, is you. No, I take Jesus. Okay, well, let's change the subject. You're not getting anyway. The whole point about being here is to be able to take your power back and be a powerful, powerful being.
All right, well, Christopher, we're at the end of the hour. I think that if there's anything else that you want anyone to know, now's a good time to say that.
Yeah, so if you want help through this time, we're here for you. I mean, people might be, Starseed people in particular, might be feeling very lonely because people often say, you must have a load of friends. No, we have two. Let's get real. Two good friends. The rest people are like acquaintances, don't get stuff, and so you have very few friends. And, it's a lonely journey. And sometimes, that's why, the general healers even get on them, get some of that, get some help. And, in the chat, we have people saying hi and, communing with people. I think, that's one of the biggest things about being a Starseed person. The isolation can get a little bit too much sometimes. And, sometimes I feel a sadness because, I don't have anybody. I've got two friends, the guy's a doctor and the lady's, she used to be a nurse, but they're really dear friends. They're people you can rely on, if you're really in trouble. As I found out in 2024, they stayed here, looked after Bella while I was in hospital. But other than that, I don't, if I wanted a beer tonight, I mean, if you were close to your hand, I'd say, let's go for a beer, but you're not. But, there's very few people you can say, oh, let's go for a beer tonight and enjoy their company. You know what I mean? So it's, it's difficult. But, if you want help, just go to Global Enlightenment Project and, come and get help. I'm here for you. If you don't want to, that's okay. But, just think about what was said. It's really important. And I think taking your power back is key. The only person who can save you is you. The only person who has the truth about what's going on the planet is you from your perspective. And that's what I said to my father. Well, my truth is my truth, yours is yours. But the thing is, who's right or wrong? Well, it depends on what you've been absorbing and where you've been getting your information from. But there is no right or wrong. So it's important not to judge people, I think. And that's one of the key things. That's why I follow my life with Jesus' teachings. Of course, he wasn't called Jesus, he was called Yeshua. But I follow my life by his teachings. Don't judge people, love people, do as much work, for people as you can. But the rest of it, there's a lot of nonsense in it as well. Just think about it. The Bible was rewritten by two pedophiles. That was King James and that was Constantine. Oh, now I wonder why they wanted to adjust it. Just think about that. Rewritten completely by the Nazim and whatever, so it's just something to think about. But, the teachings of these people, Buddha, the same. Teachings are great. Not unlike Jesus's, almost the same, just put in a different way, vibration and everything else. Babaji, teachings of Enoch, the rules of the universe. And obviously the biggest one is they can't interfere with free will. That's why there's Starseed people here, because they had to get over that and get volunteers. Okay, you're like, I was accused that, you're a Palladian, you're an actor. Okay, so we want to seed you down here. Some of the people who've been seeded, they had to actually abduct the mother to get enough DNA of that race to get the soul contained. Other ones, they didn't. So, for example, Palladians can be born in a normal human body. I couldn't. My mother was abducted. Arcturians can't. Your mother would be abducted. It was all agreed before they came down here. So that's why they did it, because now we're down here. It gets over that rule like, okay, the human race needs help. Guys, okay, we need help. And what you're doing is pulling help from the ethers down here. So, yeah. Bless your heart. So I hope that helps.
Christopher, thanks for being on Boundless Authenticity.
Oh, thanks, Ian. Bless you. It's lovely to see you again. And thank you for all you do. You're amazing. Bless your heart.
You're welcome. You're a staple around here. I'll probably look around one day and you're just laying on my couch, and that's okay.
Yeah. Having a beer is something. So bless you. Oh, bless you. So let's do it again if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you'll be back at least 2 or 3 times before the end of the year. That's the pattern. You've got more episodes on this podcast than any other guest, and you're welcome to move in anytime you feel like. I just want to remind everyone that Boundless Authenticity is available on Podbean, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, YouTube, and probably a whole barrage of other places, but those are the main places. So like, share, subscribe, do what you feel like you got to do. Christopher is on Instagram at Global Enlightenment. I'm on Instagram at Boundless Authenticity, so please follow. You can also sign up on his website, and you can get those free weekly group sessions: Monday 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific; Thursday 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific; and Saturday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So do your thing. See you next time.
You're listening to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast, where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness.
At the very least, people need to understand that the United States builds bunkers, which are basically cities underground, every 3 months.
Basically, when you dream, you tap into your subconscious. It is your nocturnal intuition, your creativity and imagination unchained from conscious reason, ego and logic.
They're biologically alive, but they have no soul. They have AI consciousness. They can alter your conscious of the brain to get the brain.
We live in a multidimensional reality. Whether it comes through esoteric information in the spiritual realms, or the UFO people, experiencers, or mainstream through quantum physics and through mainstream science now realizing that parallel dimensions probably exist.
We're all spiritual beings. We're all having these human experiences. We've heard that phrase over and over and over. But what does that really mean? All the big questions of life, we have these answers inside of our souls.
We're ultimately
studying the nature of what it is to be human, good and evil, our psychology, how we think, and our health. That's why I love Bruce Lee's great quote, all knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge.
The Boundless Authenticity Podcast.